pretty, I would say, steady results. Obviously, there's little gives and takes in terms of each firm. But what would be your broad assessment right now, how the industry is performing? You see J.P. Morgan putting industry-leading returns up there, and the rest of them, it's kind of slow and steady given the interest rate outlook.
I would agree with that. I think J.P. Morgan is the outlier on a positive side, and the rest is pretty much as expected, given the economic situation, the interest rate situation, and the still uncertainties out there relative to trade that I think has reduced the confidence in the business community, and therefore we've had less investment than might be the case if we had better news on the trade front.
It would seem in that kind of characterization then that a lot is outside the control of the people who run these banks right now. Is not the case. It's kind of the yield environment, it's the macro. What would you do as a CEO right now and say, I'm going to try to sort of strengthen my franchise? I mean, there's not a lot of M&A happening. What's the next move?
Well, I think is don't make any big mistakes. Take what the market's giving you, serve your customers, look for new customers, but that's the situation today. And I think if you try to somehow change that, you're going against some wins, and you may make a lot bigger mistakes. So I think just stay there and wait for the opportunities. Hopefully, if we get trade, we won't get many or maybe even any reductions in interest rates. Things will settle down, and then gradual increases occurring in the economy over time. It's still a good economy, and we just got to stay. Take what we can get from the uncertainties that exist today.
Dick, your old employer, Wells Fargo, reporting earnings this morning. As well, you've got a new CEO, Charlie Scharf, taking over on the 21st of October. Don't think we've spoken to you since Mr. Scharf was appointed. What's your sense, given how long they went, of course, with an interim CEO? You think Mr. Scharf's the right pick?
I think it's a good choice. Charlie has been involved in almost all segments of the financial services industry, certainly the banking side. He's been CEO of 2 financial services companies. He's got a lot of experience, and I think he will do a good job.
I mean, just to, I guess, get more specific on kind of the first move in this instance, I mean, what do you think is right now his list of priorities at the top?
Well, I think the top priority is to make peace with the regulators. Should have been and hopefully it still is the #1 priority of the company, but they don't seem to have made a lot of progress. So you have to fix that above all, and I think you'll be helpful in doing that. And then you've got to get back to business. And I think again. The bank has been on their back foot because they've been dealing with the regulatory issues, and they have not made much progress on that, it would appear.
Reuters did get a hold of an internal memo a week or two ago saying that they were looking to beef up their lending teams, anticipating a big surge in mortgage activity. Do you think there's still a lot more there to work with if, in fact, rates sort of stay where they are?
Yes, I think, again, if the consumer doesn't lose confidence, and I think it's on an edge at the moment because of all this bad news relative to trade, if the consumer doesn't lose confidence, I think the mortgage business is going to do well because interest rates are low, and fortunately, because of what's going on, the increase in home prices have been reduced somewhat. So I think they're ready to buy, and they should be concerned that at some time in the future interest rates are going to go up. So this is a good time to be buying, and I think the mortgage business will do better.
Goldman Sachs is going to start its conference call for its earnings about 20 minutes from now. Sure to get a lot of questions, I would assume, in their efforts when it comes to consumer banking, whether it's Marcus or this new credit card with Apple or even their transaction processing business that's getting up and running. What do you think of these efforts Goldman's making? You think they're going to succeed?
I think it's going to be very difficult for them to succeed. There's so much competition out there. If success is, do they put business on the books? Yes, that will happen. But I think they're going to have to pay a big price for that. They're going to have to have lower rates on loans and higher rates on deposits. And that means the margins are going to be thin. and it's going to be a very difficult task, in my opinion.
Finally, Dick, I wonder what you make of the spread between credit card rates and overall rates. I mean, it's getting fairly wide to the degree that the Journal's done stories about people taking out loans to consolidate credit card debt. Is it getting abusive?
Well, I don't know about abusive, but it's certainly very high. And I think one of the reasons for that is there's a lot of people who just don't borrow. And so they're not making that much money on those people who do not borrow. And therefore, the ones that do have to pay a price for that. And it's a very high margin, which I'm surprised continues. Now, there's a lot of specials out there, too. You have to determine exactly what's going on. And there's a lot of competition where there are special rates for 6 months and so on. So you have to look into that. But overall, I would think it would be very difficult to increase the margins from where it is today on credit cards, and may have to fall some.